this craziness happens every time we do that. How was y'all weekend?
Everything was good. You go first.
Oh, it was cool. Like I was telling y'all, like I went to Eddie V's,
Mm-hmm.
seafood restaurant in Troy, and I wouldn't. It's too expensive. I would
Yeah.
never go back again. I went for my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Indica.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, like I didn't pay. I went prepared to pay, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that I didn't have to pay for my own
You
meal.
saw that bill, like, oh shoot.
The tip was $150.
Oh my god. Oh my. Wait, tell me how many people
They
went?
tell you
It
how
was
much you have to tip?
it was 8 or 9 of us.
Oh my god. So what was like the average price for each meal? Like what was the price of
Like
your meal?
I
that you
got scallops and
That's why you getting scallops.
But they were kind of like on the cheap end.
Yeah.
Like my nephew got the cheapest thing on the menu, which was the chicken, and that was $28. And of course,
Wow.
like at those type of restaurants, this type of stuff is a la carte.
Okay.
And like I think he got like the crab fried rice, which was like $14.
Oh shoot. Well, I mean, shout out to Eddie V's. 'Cause if you want to sponsor our podcast, if your food was good. No.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like it was a lot of fake titties there. I'd never seen that amount. Like, and I went to the beach when I was out of town, and
Yeah.
that was a lot of.
So was it just like rich people just?
Yes,
With
like we walked out. It was a Ferrari
oh.
outside, and my nephew's like, "Take a picture,
Terrible.
take a picture in front of the Ferrari."
That sounds fun though. How was your Disney World trip?
Oh, it was awesome. The highlight of the trip for me is when we went to Universal Studios and we went to the Harry Potter part.
Oh, you get the butterbeer.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did. It was
butterbeer's good.
disgusting, but
I liked it.
I liked the foam on the top,
Yeah.
but the rest of it I didn't. I didn't like it. I got my daughter the frozen one, and she didn't want it,
Oh.
so I ended up drinking both of them. But I did get on a roller coaster by mistake. I don't like roller coasters.
Oh my. I mean, but Disney World's roller coasters aren't that bad.
I went to
Not
Universal Studios.
Oh,
when
yeah,
I went
they're-
to
yeah.
Universal Studios, I got on the roller coaster by mistake because it's inside.
Oh.
And I thought it was just like the Harry Potter ride. You know, it's like a lot of 3D
Yeah.
and just the car shaking. I'm like, oh, I was telling my daughter, like, oh, it's just like Harry Potter. She's like, no, I don't like mummies.
So
I'm like, it's just like that ride. So I'm like, you're tall enough to get on there, so let's just get on there. She was like, no, I'm going to stay out here with Grandpa. So me and my mom went, and it was a roller coaster.
wait, that was the mummy roller coaster.
Yeah.
I've been on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was screaming the whole time.
It tricks you because you don't think that it's an indoor roller coaster. Like you
Yeah.
said, you think it's just like a little. You go around in a circle, shake a
Yeah,
little bit.
and
You're
then they're
right.
like, keep your hands inside the ride. The ride is coming to a stop, and then a mummy pops out like, it's only the beginning, and then it
Like,
starts.
That sounds fun. I wish I had a Disney World trip. What about you, Ann? I know we went out yesterday for the barbecue with Nicole.
Oh, how was that?
It was good, man. Nicole, shout out to Nicole, man.
Shout out.
She's gonna be back. She threw a 4th of July party, a Happy Birthday America party, while dissing America in the same breath. She played songs like "This Is America," "Party in the USA." I think there's a song called "Born on the 4th of July" or something like that. Yeah, you know, it was just a great party, man. You know, we just. She was red, white, and blue. Her skin's white. Her
shirt was red.
Her shirt was red. And her jeans were blue. She was red, white, and blue, and it was a fun time.
Yeah, I had a good one. And playing those games too, we played cornhole. I think it was your first time playing cornhole.
It was my first time. We played beer pong.
Yeah, we had a good time. It reminded me of college. It was like a flashback.
There was pudding shots. There was like Jello pudding mixed with some strawberry cream vodka. That was
Yeah.
good.
Like red, white, and blue, or they?
No, it was just
Oh.
it was just straight up just pudding shots. It was a lot of food, a lot of popcorn, burgers and hot dogs. I wish you would have came.
Yeah, I had to go out to that expensive dinner for my brother.
How was your 4th of July? Like I feel like I didn't do anything, and it's not because
It was ironic.
I just feel like 4th of July, like the actual day on Wednesday. First off, it was a Wednesday, so I'm like, I got to go to work in the morning, so I'm not trying to do nothing. And then for me, I don't really care for like fireworks. I don't really care for like 4th of July isn't one of my favorite holidays. I just don't really think much about it. And so I didn't do anything. I just sat in the house.
Straight up, I think my whole day was just like a metaphor for America. Like, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Straight up, I just think my whole day was a metaphor for America. Like, it started off with me taking my girl to Somerset Mall.
Right.
We started off on the rich side where all we did was window shop. traveled over to the poor side where we went to Chick-fil-A.
Okay, shout out Chick-fil-A.
And
Was the line long?
no, it's not long anymore. I think people have just settled in with it.
Right.
So it was our first time. So we thought it was just meh, but I really like it. Took her home, went to my second job where I got overtime, got off early, and then I went to go see Sicario 2, which was fitting because that movie kind of makes America look like assholes.
What is it called? Sicario?
Sicario 2, yeah.
Benicio
Del Toro.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see the first one, so I didn't.
It's pretty good. It's probably about the war on drugs. But anyway, I was taking a trip down memory lane. Like I was going to the AMC Star Southfield where I used to go as a kid. I'm like, you know what? The prices are low, so I'll just go there. And the place, look, and no disrespect to AMC, it smelled like
total disrespect because
AMC.
They haven't done any. I don't think they even mopped the floor since they like.
No, it's trash. It's trash.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because they didn't want to clean for the 4th, but the theater smelled like piss and ashed out blunts. Like for real, man. I could barely focus on the movie. Like
So gross.
I was so focused putting my hand over my nose like these while I was watching the movie.
I only go to that cinema because tickets full price are $6.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only reason I went
So
because I had went to see Sicario 2 before, but it was late in the night, so I fell asleep. And I said, that was a good movie. I really want to see the whole thing. So I said, well, Star Southfield is cheap, but
Yeah. Never do that, man. Don't no. I just go to either AMC, John R., go to Imagine. Although
it's
Imagine
never
is
been
expensive.
that bad, though. It's never been that bad. It was like usually they clean up a little. It was just like, it was a dump.
No, last time I went, I think I took my daughter to see Sing.
Oh yeah, that was a good
And
movie.
she's like, "Look, mommy, it fly!" Like it was like flying. I'm like, "It's part of the movie." And she like pointed to. I'm like, "No, that's a real. That's a real fly.
So that's a part of the movie. Like no.
No, that's a real fly."
Oh
I saw Logan there, and it wasn't bad when I saw Logan there, and that was recent.
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, whoever the management, man, they got to get it together.
Got
Like,
the same old decorations with the Indiana Jones and all that. I'm like,
That's
that
like
stuff, that's-
1990.
That stuff was
Yeah.
cool to look at when y'all first opened. Get some
Right.
new decorations.
They got to get it together. I'm never going there again. I'm sorry. It's not worth my
Yeah.
time.
If I
My
do
money.
an AMC, I'll do like Livonia or something like that.
John R. isn't bad.
I like John R. with the seat too.
Like it's like become the new Phoenix Theater on 8 Mile.
Yeah, it has. But on that note, let's segment on to the next. Let's move on to the next segment, which is the current event. So, has anyone heard about these kids in Thailand who are stuck in this cave? You hear about that?
Yeah, I heard of. Are they still stuck?
So they're rescuing them now. I think today or last night they're doing a rescue mission. I think they got about 6 kids out. So for those who don't know, I think 12 kids were trapped. I forgot what the accident was. It was a plane accident, something like that. But 12 kids got stuck in a cave in Thailand, and it's extremely hard to get to this cave. Like you have to go through this like long stretch of tunnel. Then you got to dive into this water. You got to go underground and then get back up into them. And so they were stuck in there for at least a couple of weeks right now. So I think they're high school soccer players or high school age kids, and they're all soccer players. And they're stuck in there with their coach. And so today was the first day where they're actually trying to get them out. I think they said they had about 6 kids out so far. It's 12 of them. And so they said it could take anywhere between like 2 or 3 days to get everybody out.
I did hear that an officer did pass.
Yeah, he was one of the Thailand Navy SEALs. He passed away trying to sort of help, get the kids out. But so rest in peace to him. But that was just crazy. I can only imagine being stuck in a cave for that long with 12 people. That's one of my worst fears. Being trapped anywhere is my worst fear.
Yeah, I'm claustrophobic, and I don't like elevators. I'll take the stairs to the 10th floor.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of remind me. Do y'all remember those Colombian miners who got trapped? They got trapped like underground.
They made a movie about that.
Yeah, they made a movie about them. It's sort of the same thing. Like I think they were trapped down there for like a few weeks, like 4 or 5 weeks. But hopefully everyone gets out safely. We're praying, wishing them the best. I think from the last update, I think all of them are healthy at this point. But yeah, that's just a scary story. And in other news, I hope y'all heard about this. I'm sure y'all heard about this. The black family who went to go to the pool in their own complex. I think it was like the housing complex had a pool that they're trying to go to, and then this white guy, they said that they didn't belong there. So he called the cops. She had to prove, she had to actually scan her pool card to show them that she actually belonged there. And the white guy who called the cops on the woman and her child, I think he got fired from his job. There was a lot of uproar. Got
Why
fired
is
from
all
his
this
job.
happening now?
Cameras.
Yeah,
Cameras on the phones.
yeah. Because I wouldn't say it's. I'm sure it happened all the time. It's just we
Because
don't see
like
it.
as soon as you said pool incident, I'm like thinking about the other pool incident where the gentleman got in the pool with his socks on.
Oh, it was another one too. Yeah.
And they called the cops. Like,
Although I mean, you don't have to call the cops for somebody putting their socks on. Like, first off, please don't call the cops for stuff that's not important. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why put someone? First off, why use these resources when they can be used somewhere else? Like, what's the point of calling the cops for something like that? And you already know, most of the times we calling the cops on a black person, this thing could escalate to something worse. So
yeah, they know.
they know. So these incidents, man, it's just I'm glad these things are being captured on camera so people have proof of what is actually going on in our society. But it's just sad that like every week there's something else, something new, and it's kind of disheartening. It's like, you know, what can we do? Like we had that conversation. What can black people or what shouldn't black people do? And this is adding to this list. Like you can't even go to the pool. You can't jump in the pool with your clothes on. It's crazy. I think for current events, I don't want to talk about Trump, so we're gonna move on. Go ahead, Shayna. What you have for your hip hop corner?
I don't know. Like it's been 2 weeks. I didn't listen to Drake.
Oh my God,
How was
no
Drake?
All right.
It was. I'll just summarize it as this. It was better than Views. I don't think he's gonna make another Take Care, which I argue is his best. One disc is rapping, one disc is singing. Yeah, there's some fillers, but overall, I think it's solid.
I agree. I definitely it was a few bangers on each side. I think I might like the rapping version or part better than the singing part, personally. It's just too long for me though. I'm sorry, I have a short attention span. I hate having to listen to 3 hours worth of music. So it's like I'm gonna listen to it in short spurts. So I tried listening to it that night it came out. I'm like, it's just too late. I'm tired. So I listened to like 2 or 3 songs, went to bed, and then I just sort of digested a little bit more. And again, it's okay. It's an okay album. I don't knock it. I mean, there's some songs that I really do like. The one in particular, the second song on version track 1, Nonstop.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Sandra's Rose.
That's him and DJ Premier.
That's a good one. Nice Boy. I always like that one. So that's really not new.
The Michael Jackson collab is exactly what I would picture it if he was still living, but it doesn't make it much. I mean, I feel like they would make a slow song together, and that's kind of what it was. I mean,
the one track he actually claimed his kid was that Emotionless. That was one.
March 14th.
March 14th. Yeah, March 14th. He actually claimed his kid. I don't know. What do you think about that, Shannon?
I think that song would have came out regardless if Pusha said something. I think that was prepared for that album. It's just that Pusha exposed it early.
Oh no.
I don't know. I don't know.
I just think, man, the whole situation. I really think that he was forced to release that. I don't think
Forced?
not forced, but I think that Pusha T sort of pushed his hand a little bit in releasing that. Because if you're Drake, why would you even disclose that? You don't need to if you don't want to.
It's already out there.
But like part of his brand is being a nice guy. The whole girl, I see you working hard. I'm gonna rub your feet when you get home. Like that's part of his brand. That's part of why like a lot of women are fans of him. And then he kind of dropped off a couple of points with Drake female fans that I know because of who he got pregnant.
In all honesty, he doesn't come off as the nice guy on the song. He kind of like admits his faults in the situation.
Yeah, he does.
That nice guys do.
I mean, but you.
So then maybe he's a nice guy that messed up then.
But I completely agree. I think his image is everything for him, and he's trying to maintain that squeaky clean image. Although we all know we all have flaws and faults. But I mean, I'm glad he acknowledged it. I just think that, he could have did it 2 years ago, whenever the kid was born. Like he didn't have to wait this long if he was really truly honest about it. So that's why I kind of think the Pusha T situation either revealed it too soon, or I think it forced his hand a little bit in terms of revealing it.
Do y'all think that song is really classic though? The Story of Adion. I think it's a great comeback. I think it's a great like winning song. But I think that'll go down.
I just feel like we throw that word around too much. Like you have to give things time to marinate before we say, oh, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, especially in this day and age, everyone overreacts to everything.
Yes,
that's our issue. And I understand because like we're in that type of that day and age where everyone's just on Twitter tweeting, spreading the word, and so everything gets hyped up and propped up. I think it was a good comeback. I mean, it's not memorable outside of the few lines about his kid and all that, and the girl he was messing with.
I'm gonna be honest. I think as far as like winning, pushed it through some great jabs and he won. But I think W Freestyle is a bit more. It's a bit more memorable to me because like when I listen to Story of Adidon, I like Story of OJ better because all I hear is Story of OJ when I hear that.
But one thing though, I think Drake, he's smart because he gave Pusha T that battle. Like he won the battle, but I think Drake won the war ultimately. Because think about it, you got this album to drop. People talking about him.
I wasn't gonna change though.
No.
I mean, Drake is Drake. He's gonna sell, but he's making money off of it. He sort of claimed that. Now people are intrigued. They know he had a kid now, and he won the war when it comes down to it. He's making money. Should we move on?
Well, hold up. Damon Dash and Lee Daniels.
Oh my God, yes.
But that's like not new. He mentioned that on the Breakfast Club.
But the way he came up to my man, they purposely recorded that thing. He came up to him like slow
at a Diana Ross concert.
Right, Lee Daniels was jamming.
I was wondering who was singing.
Just Diana Ross.
Yeah.
It was like Lee Daniels was upset. He was listening to Diana Ross, and then my man just came up to him and just demanded his money. But Lee Daniels is dirty for that. That's dirty. Someone give you $2 million as a loan, and you just dodge them forever.
Not just a loan, because like a loan, to me it would be more hurtful. Like if I loan somebody to pay your rent and you don't pay me back, okay, whatever. But if I loan you money to fund your dream,
right, and
then your dream comes true and you are able to finesse that into somewhat of an empire, you have 2 shows on Fox, and then you don't pay me back, like that would hurt because nobody else believed in you. $2 million, that's a lot of belief. Seriously. Whether you got $2 million to loan or not.
Yeah, I think that there's a moral and legal aspect to this. The moral is just everything Shayna just said. Even like Damon Dash invested in Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's dream came true, and I'm sure Kevin Hart paid Damon Dash back in a lot of ways. There's that aspect, and then there's the legal aspect of, was it on paper? Because if Lee Daniels was a complete dick, if he just didn't want to pay back, he could be like, well, it's not on paper, so I'm going to keep going.
I mean, but I think legality of that, even if it's verbal, that's still a contract, right? So, I mean, in court, you can still sue. I just think that, as you said, Shayna, anytime that you put money and resources behind a person and they do you like that, I'm going to have a problem with that. Because he dodged him for 13 years, something like that? That's a long time to dodge somebody. And I would be upset. I would do the same thing if I was Dame Dash and put it in recording, record it so that he could take this to the court, to the judges, like, hey, we got evidence that he said this, right?
Yeah, and it was what else happened? It was his interview on TMZ that some people in the barbershop were kind of talking about. Like, he came off as kind of pompous, saying, "Oh, well, I know Dame needs the money, so I'm gonna pay him." Oh, but I mean,
but there was a point in time where you needed the money.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so. I just thought it was interesting, man. It's kind of making the Monique thing. It's bringing the Monique thing back to light a little bit.
I was gonna say that because Monique, she got stiffed as well. In the whole Precious movie, and what they pay $500,000 for a movie that
50. It was 50,000, 55,000.
$50,000. Like Lee Daniels, that just shows you Lee Daniels. He's kind of crooked.
They didn't know how big it was going to be. In all fairness,
yeah. Because I think everybody from Friday, John Witherspoon came out and said everybody from Friday made like 5,000.
So, dang.
Right, they didn't know how big the movie's going to be. It's more so the aftermath. That's the shadiness of it.
Right, like get those royalties. I mean, the movie still, I'm sure, is made well over. I don't know what it grows, but it's enough to at least pay her something. So yeah, that gives Monique a lot of credibility in her story. I think that we were quick to bash her. And then when we saw the whole situation with Dame Dash and Lee Daniels, I think we jumped on Dame Dash's side a little bit more than we did with Monique. But that's up to interpretation. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
That's a murky situation, though. That's way more. That's not as black and white as Dame and Lee.
I mean, what do you think about?
Because it's the Oprah and Tyler factor that makes me kind of cock my head a little bit.
Why?
Because I don't think Tyler should get shade. I don't think Tyler did anything wrong, to be honest.
What about Oprah?
Well, that's debatable too, but I mean, like, that's not really black and white to me.
I mean, what do y'all think about
As far as the aspect of bringing your family on the show and not letting that person know, then yeah, that's wrong. But the Tyler Perry thing, I'm still kind of cocking my head like, well, should he be dragged?
I just think it's wrong for her to record a personal conversation like that without letting the person know.
Oh yeah, she recorded Tyler, didn't she?
Yeah, she recorded him. I mean, with the Dame Dash situation, it's a little bit different because you're in public. Anyone can just pull out a phone in public and film you. But when you have a conversation that's in private and it's amongst your friend, and you're not telling me that you're releasing this recording, then that's a little shady to me on that side. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't agree with her on that. But I mean, I understand where Monique's coming from.
They only paid her $55,000 for the movie, and they asked her to promote it, which means
free,
she had for basically just the $55,000 that they pay her for. I can see that if they pay her $1 million or something like that, and hey, this is a part of what you have to do for this movie. Right. But she already had a paying gig. She had a late night show on BET that she had to take. So I get why she wouldn't be able to promote that movie without additional funds.
Right.
And for somebody like Oprah who has funds to say, hey, come promote this movie, but I'm not going to give you anything extra, that you have to fund your own travel and lodging and all of that, I feel like it's wrong. But and to blackball her because of that.
Yeah.
Well, it's different things. It's not just the promoting. You know, there's the promoting. There's the blackball. There's the thing of not getting new roles because of the blackballing. There's like a complex web of things that came from this. But like, if saying the blame entirely lies on one person or on like three or on Monique herself as well, it's like it's murky.
My thing is that this just reminds me of our relationships that we have in our community. Like, we need to support each other. Like, this, we're all in this together. It's only a few, black actors out here who really doing it big. And if you know, like, somebody needs some help or if they're doing promotions, and that's the right thing to do. Give them money to promote it. And I think that we need to start just helping each other out. Like, other communities do it. Like, they'll give you money because they know that, first off, your success is my success, and that we're not independent of one another. I just think that's a whole mentality that has to shift, amongst us, because it's just not right. It did it wrong.
And then remember when those Sony emails leaked? They were talking about Kevin Hart. He wouldn't even tweet without extra money.
Yeah, that was a hustler move, though. I mean, if you can get extra money on it, why not? I wasn't mad at Kevin. I'm like, he's trying to grab that light as long as he can, and I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. Because I think your lifespan as an actor or a comedian, whatever, entertainer, is fairly short. Like, it could be here and then go on the next week. And so you got to do what you got to do to survive. I don't blame him at all.
Like, I think Tiffany Haddish, I think she's okay. She don't really make me laugh that much, but I want to see her in more movies. I wouldn't mind seeing her as many movies as Melissa McCarthy. Excuse me.
I just think that when it comes to, black actors, we get a bad rep when we're asking for a little bit of money. I think people are like, oh, they out for them. They're doing it for themselves, all that. But I'm sure George Clooney, other people, Brad Pitt, they're doing the same thing. They're not putting their name on anything without getting some endorsement or getting money for it. So,
but they look out for people too. Brad Pitt co-produced Moonlight. Well, I don't want to go too far off topic, but they look out.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the reality of it. So let's move on to the 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't want to take much away from our theme for the episode. I don't have much. I saw Sicario 2. I'll just say this: it's good. They're setting up for a third one. I think in comparison to the first one, the theme doesn't ring as hard as it does in the sequel, because the first one had a female lead, Emily Blunt, and it was really about a woman who goes by the book, who's being marginalized in her own industry, as compared to Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin's characters, who this second film focuses more on. So I think because that theme is kind of like away in this film, it doesn't ring as hard, but there's still some thought-provoking themes. It's gritty, violent. I mean, I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not bad. It's not a rip off of Traffic, because some people look at it like that, but it's really not that. I read the novel American Gods and started the show, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I saw like a few episodes of that. It is. I enjoyed it.
It is a good show. That's it for me.
So I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. They just do a great job of adding that, the comedic element into it. And it's a fun movie. Like, it's just a really fun movie.
I can't do it, man.
Why not?
Listen, I love Paul Rudd, but I just can't see him as Ant-Man and take it serious.
It's not a serious movie at all.
half of the group got disappeared, man. We really want to laugh after that.
I think this is either taking place during, because I was having a conversation with Anthony about it. Like I think this is taking place kind of like during, and he's on house arrest, so he can't communicate with any of the Avengers. So I think that's kind of why he is oblivious to what's going on.
Yep.
How is Anthony?
Yeah, all right. But we were talking about that. Like, how did he not know? Like, because beginning of Infinity War, New York is like destroyed.
Yeah, well, they explain it all. They talk about it in detail about the situation, and it's pretty much that he was on house arrest for 2 years. I don't want to give too much away though, but he was in house arrest. He couldn't do anything. If he left his house, he would have been sent to prison for 20 years.
I'll check it out, man.
Yeah.
I'll check it out eventually.
I did see the first Purge.
Oh, I heard it was good. I haven't seen it yet though.
It's better than the last one, but the last one was like really bad.
Yeah, the last one was horrible.
It was really bad. I think this is basically an audition tape for Yolanda Well to be an action star. He did really good.
Okay.
Yolanda Well, yes. He's on Insecure.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you were talking about the female lead. I didn't know his name. Okay. So somebody said this is trying to be politically conscious too.
But I think outside of the first Purge, they all are political.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the first Purge?
Outside of the Purge. Very first
the one with
movie.
Ethan Hawke.
But I also think it's kind of weird for a franchise to not have been around it that long to have 4 movies.
Yeah. And like each year. Almost each year they've been
I think,
releasing
how
one.
long has the franchise been around? Since 2000, like maybe 12, 13?
Probably 12, yeah. I mean, they're working fast.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing it.
It's like the Paranormal Activity movies. Those were dirt cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't think they're as cheap as they...
Like the first Purge was, I think the budget was maybe a few million.
Yeah.
And then it, of course, blew up. And they were only in the house.
Right. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of extra expenses with that.
So is it a good movie? I didn't mean to cut you off.
It was okay.
It was okay?
It was okay. I mean, I'm glad I went to go see it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Yolanda Noel did a really good job.
Well, I'm going to see it at some point. I had a question. I talked to Anthony about this a little bit yesterday. Do you know about the Scarlett Johansson sort of blowback she's getting?
No.
All right, so she is scheduled to play I think it's a movie that's coming out soon, and she's going to be playing a transgender character. And she's getting a lot of pushback because they feel that they're sort of whitewashing so these roles where they could have easily found a transgender actor to play this part, but they chose Scarlett Johansson. So sort of like the Girl in the Shell situation where she played an Asian character. People feel that there's lack of representation from various communities. What do y'all think about that?
I think it's typical Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, what was that movie, 21, about the card counting?
What about it?
That whole story is based off of an Asian person, but they had a white lead.
Oh.
And I think like one of the side background players, like one of the people in the group was Asian, but not the main character. And I'm sure
I read that book. The main guy was Asian?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I don't remember that.
Yes. So like that's just a thing in Hollywood. And I'm sure there are plenty of Asian or transgender people of, certain communities that could fill those roles.
Yeah. Do you think that they're afraid, or do you think they're doing it because Scarlett Johansson's name is already popular?
But
well, here's the same.
Do you go see a movie because she's in it?
No. I don't really. I mean,
I like her, but it depends on what the movie's about.
I definitely didn't see Girl in the Show. I can tell you that.
I didn't see that either.
I wanted to watch the anime first. But there's something I wanted to say about that. Ghost in the Shell, I think when you compare like race to gender, race whitewashing to gender washing, I don't know, man. It gets kind of murky because like with Ghost in the Shell, they had a right to be upset. That's kind of an Asian-led film, and they picked Scarlett. With this one, I feel like she's an actress. My man played
Oh, Jared Leto?
Not him.
No.
Yeah, well, him too. But my man from Jupiter Ascending and Stephen Hawking. Y'all know who I'm talking about? Eddie Redmayne.
Eddie Redmayne, yeah.
You know, who was his character? Was he like a cross-dresser or a transgender woman in that film, the Danish girl?
I think it might have been a cross-dresser, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so there's that, and there's also before the allegations came out, Jeffrey Tambor in Transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, why y'all coming up now to go after her? I feel like it's just.
I mean, I don't think it's right, but I also think that there's another sense of, because again, like you said, there's a lot of men who have done that in previous movies and previous TV shows. But I think that for her, it's already a history of them doing that, and I think they just sort of pointed it out. But you're right. I think they need to call. You got to talk about all these characters who have done the same thing, and all these actors who have done the same thing. Call everybody out. Change the system.
But is it like the actors and the actresses, or is it the people doing the casting?
I mean, it's the casting people. I think that they don't. First off, they may not be able to identify the talent that's there. Maybe they don't really care to identify the talent that's there. And I also think it's just a little bit of laziness. It's easier just to go with a household name, and call it a day.
That's true. You can only have, one person from each minority at top. So that's why I think Michael B. Jordan's getting a lot of offers where, other people who are coming up too, they got to kind of fight to get those offers too. I get it. Their eyes are, they got like
those blinders on?
Yeah, they got blinders on. Yeah. I just don't think this is I don't think Scarlett should get dragged for this.
Yeah, we shouldn't drag her. Like you said, let's drag the casting directors and
the directors and the producers. Like, there's a whole industry.
Yeah, it's not her
fault. A whole
fault.
history of doing things like this. So,
because as an actor, I'm taking any gig I can get, so it's not really my. I'm doing what I can do. So yeah, all right. Let's move on to our main topic. So this is one where I like to ring these bells. So this is one where it's really up to our interpretation. We're looking at what do you stand up for. There's the quote every day. There's a quote that says, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So we're looking at like in your daily lives, every day, whether it's work related, whether it's something you're dealing with in personal life. What do you stand up for, and sort of why do you stand up for it?
I guess I'll go first. I believe in karma. Like, I also believe in I believe in God and I believe in fate. So I guess I'll just say that. Mm-hmm. I treat others the way I want to be treated. Like, I figure, I've always been the type to, just kind of like let some things go. Not all things, but some things, and be like, okay, it is what it is. I might need a favor from this person later. Or right. be it as maybe this person's having a bad day, so I'll just leave it alone. What if I was in that situation? Mm. I don't know, man. I stand up for people who are treated wrongly in the way that person who's giving out the behavior wouldn't want to be treated. So I stand up for that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I don't know if y'all ever seen this TV show with John Quinones. What Would You Do? Have you seen it?
Yeah. What would you do?
So essentially, they're creating scenarios where they put these everyday people into crazy situations, and they want to see what happens. Like, what are they? Do they get involved? Do they walk away? Things that such. And I didn't really have something similar happened. So I was just walking down, Greektown during work, and this is a dilemma I always have. So there's a lot of people who are homeless asking for money, and that day I was just like, I was kind of generous, and I gave this person money, right? Because I was like, this person needs to give him a couple of dollars. And then this next person, I walked down maybe another couple of blocks, and another person asked for money. And I didn't give that person money.
That was your choice.
But I felt kind of bad. I was like, if I'm going to give money to one person, I feel like I'm obligated to give it to someone else. So I was kind of in a dilemma. Like, should I go to the ATM real quick, get money out, and give it to this person, or do I allow them to, I don't know, just let someone else do it for me? I did feel kind of bad. It was a moral dilemma. I didn't know really what to do in that situation because I feel like I did my duty of giving someone else, that first person, some money. So am I obligated to do that for everyone else?
It's not really a duty, though. It's
not a
duty.
Nice. That's true. But I want to make sure that everyone has, I don't know, just fair to everyone. And that was just something I kind of struggled with. Not saying that it's not necessary to give them the money. It's just it's a gesture, kind gesture. But for me, I'm like, all right, if I can help one, I got to be able to help them all. But I just know that's not the case. It's kind of hard to do. But in that situation, I felt like I want to stand up for people who may be disadvantaged in some way, but I can't do it for everyone, right? So has there been any situation where you tried to stand up for someone, but you weren't able to do it? Like something prevented you from being able to support that person in some way? For instance, maybe you had like a coworker who, was being harassed by a boss or something. You couldn't say anything about it.
Well, before we go there, Shayna, what do you stand up for?
Black politics.
Okay.
Every day. And it's just funny, like how people, when they, like we talk about politics and we complain about politics without even knowing. Like everybody I know has complained about a result of the Telecom Act.
No.
That Bill Clinton signed back in the 90s without even knowing. Like, I'm tired of hearing the same songs on the radio. Well, there used to be a cap on how many radio stations you can own, and then the Telecom Act got rid of that. So that's why you hear the same songs on the radio.
I didn't know that. Wow.
How's that black politics, though?
Well, and then because that affect black radio station owners.
Wow.
That dropped dramatically because, like I said, it used to be 40. You used to be able to own 40 radio stations, and then there was no cap at all. So that reduced the amount of black-owned radio stations, like, drastically. And then the amount of, revolutionary music, of course, goes down. Independent artists or DJs breaking, new artists, that went down drastically.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I guess it didn't really tell you all what I stand for.
No, you did.
So yeah, yeah. I guess in
being just.
Being just. Another thing too is this. Obviously, being a doctoral student in education, equal educational opportunities for all. I think that's always important. I do a lot of research on that. Spend a lot of time on that as well, and I think that's just important because I think education opens up opportunities for people who may be either disenfranchised, although some educational systems are just perpetuate specific disadvantages. So we got to figure out how to change the actual system to be inclusive and incorporate the needs of all individuals. But that's something I think is important for me.
Yeah, and back to politics, it just recently went all the way up to the Supreme Court that Michigan children don't have a right to literacy.
All right.
Why us?
Because at first it's something that went to the Michigan State Supreme Court. Like this was back maybe 2012, 2013, where it's basically like all the schools have to do is keep the lights on. They don't have to educate our children. And then it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and then they agreed with the state Supreme Court decision that literacy is not a right.
I'll tell you this. So I can tell you why. All right. So in the United States Constitution, education isn't actually addressed. There's been no there's no amendments that talk about education being as an essential factor in an individual's liberty, right? I believe the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment states that everyone has to have access to a system of education or some. It doesn't necessarily say that, but they have to have access to education, but it doesn't say have to successfully prepare them to be literate, right? So that's the issue. It's about interpretation of the laws. And so it falls in that gray area. So as long as they have a school system for the students, that's all the Constitution says they have to fulfill, which is horrible because you got all these schools who aren't teaching their kids crap. And so now we have to figure out.
But if the school's not teaching, is it actually a school?
That's what I'm saying. It's school. Like, the word they going for. I'm just taking my kid there to just play with other kids.
And then if my kid doesn't go, I get in trouble.
That's where the United States went wrong. We had to address education should have been added to the Constitution in some way, or it should be in the future because, again, you're going to deal with situations where it's up to interpretation and different states interpret it in different ways. Because in education, the federal government doesn't oversee the educational systems. It's the states. The state government has the authority, and so the states they can do whatever they want. It's in the state constitution to address education, whereas the federal government, they just agree with what the states follow. So it's really up to the states. Doesn't mean it's right, though.
You touched on something about a time where you might have stood up for something and how did it go? I can tell you a situation where it went badly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a friend in middle school. He had kind of a sugary voice. So
what is that?
So he had a feminine voice.
Okay.
But he wasn't gay though. He was a straight man. He just I guess he was kind of like raised in a house full of women. So some people, the school he used to come from, they would call him like gay and faggot and stuff like that. So when he came to my school, it was a new start for him. And plus he had another friend there. So we were walking, and you know, I'm young and ignorant. He's my friend. So I'd be like, hey man, you ain't gotta touch my hand, don't be fruity. I was just joking. He was like, I'm not fruity. And then he just kind of like walked away, and I was like, oh, I feel bad. So when I came up to him and said, hey man, I was just joking, he kind of explained to me why he was like so like mad about it and stuff like that. And I said, oh, I didn't mean it that way. So there was one moment in class where the teacher was giving us a lesson on, you know, and standing up for people, or, you know, like everyone being different and accepting people's differences. And I tried to do the heroic thing and say, hey, Willie, I just want to let you know, man, you know, me and Paris, the girl that came from his old school, you know, we got your back if anything like that happens where somebody criticizes you. Because he had just spoke up recently before then about how everybody used to call him gay, and he felt bad about that. And I said, hey, man, I got your back. And then one lady in the class was like, Anthony, what you gonna do?
Oh,
and then the class started laughing at me, and I just kind of sunk my head a little bit, like, well, I tried to be a good friend, you know. I mean, he got the idea. It meant something to him that I said that, you know. But to everybody else, it was kind of like, Anthony, what you gonna do?
Dang. So they turned it on you. It was like, but I mean, the issue is that we fall into this this pressure, especially in school. Like, kids gonna pressure you to think one way, you know, believe something. So you did the courageous thing of stepping up and advocating for that person.
Right.
But then they flipped it on you like, oh, you don't got the power. Like, you don't got the...
Right. But that's what kids are. Kids are mean.
Yeah, kids are assholes. It was a similar situation I had. So I was at a summer camp in high school, and my best friend, we both went to the camp together. And these were a group of kids like from all over like Metro Detroit. And so they were teasing and picking on him for some reason. And at that moment, I didn't say anything. Because I didn't say anything because I was like, all right, if I say something, then, you know, the heat going to be put on me. And, like, he got upset because I didn't stand up for him. And then that was the end of our friendship. And I really, like, I kept thinking in my head, like, what could have I done? If I would have said something, would have changed that situation? And it just, like, again, that fear of being ostracized yourself, you know, puts you in that weird predicament. Like, should I do this? Or if I do this, is it gonna backfire on me and make me the put me in that vulnerable spot? So it was difficult. You know, it's challenging because you want to do the right thing. It's just in that situation, your head is taking you in places like, oh, I shouldn't. You keep making so many excuses. I shouldn't. So that was a situation that was negative. But it was tough. What about you? Have you had any negative situations with standing up or not standing up?
I mean, I'm a reformed bully, so I can't.
You were a bully in school?
I can't believe it. Nope. I don't believe it.
I said I'm reformed.
Is beating kids up?
I can picture
No, I
Shayna
wasn't.
asking for lunch money. I can picture Shayna asking
Not
for
like
that.
lunch money, but like, you know, like talking about like people and like, I don't want to say getting other people, but like when other people participate. Like I remember like when I was in the 7th grade, it got bad to where like her parents and my parents had to be like called and like it was a meeting.
Dang. You was a
So
real
you were
bully.
a psychological bully.
Yes.
Okay.
You-
Yeah, I've ran into those.
It happens. It's middle school. Everybody's bullying
But
someone.
it like they were like, oh, she's the leader and she needs to stop it. Like I'm not the leader. But then when after the meeting, like to see the pain in a parent's eyes,
Yeah.
because they have to deal with the repercussions of that literally changed me. So when I got back to school the next day, I'm like, we off that. And they like, all right, we off that. I'm like, damn, I am the leader.
You're the alpha of the pack. Yeah.
Like we ain't talking about her no more. We off that. And they was like, okay, we off that.
Hey, I gotta say that this generation, I think we stand up for things. I just think that we only we only go so far. And for instance, I'm going to go to something that's sort of political. You're looking at a lot of the pushback, with the Trump administration and a lot of the policies put in place. So you see people, even with the protests where the lady climbed up the climbed up the Statue of Liberty. She sacrificed her freedom, to stand up for these kids who are being affected by these immigration policies. But I feel like you don't see enough of that. You don't see enough of those demonstrations. You see a lot of people who will, talk about it, blog about it, tweet about it. But who's actually putting in real action for these things, right? So I think that it takes not only your voice, but your actions to really follow through and stand up in something. What do y'all think?
I mean, it can happen in radical ways as well. I got a friend of mine. I don't think he would mind me telling the story. I got a friend named Ryan. He had an incident where, when I asked him why he did it, it made sense. So he went to Subway during his lunch break, and he came outside and he saw these two kids beating up on this one kid, and this one kid's like, "Help me! Somebody help! Help! They're beating me up!" So he looked at this for a long minute and then just walked away. And I asked him, I said, "Well, why you do that? Did you feel like you just didn't want the responsibility?" He says, "Nah, man. I feel like it's good that kid got bullied." I said, "Why you say that?" He says, "Sometimes you need things like that to make you tougher." He says, and then we spoke about, there's a joke that Chris Rock said where, people need bullies. Yeah. You need bullies to toughen you up. I'm sure Chris Rock had bullies. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, man, but how that kid probably didn't, off himself afterwards or something like that? He's like, nah, man, I got faith he didn't. I got faith that he needed that ass whooping to learn how to never take it again. I'm like, how that ain't the first time, that's just the first time? We kept going back and forth, right. But I understood where he was coming from. It was a radical stance, but I understood where he was coming from.
That's a tough one,
radical stance not to do anything?
Right.
A radical stance.
Yeah, he ain't even say, hey.
Right.
Stop that.
Or he didn't talk to the kid afterwards, like, hey, man, it's gonna get better, something like that.
He told me he seriously debated saying something. I said, man, you should have at least said something. He was like, nah, man, I feel like that's needed because I went through that. I'm like, but he might not be you. And we just kept going back and forth. And
what's the quote? It's better to build, strong children than to repair broken men.
Yeah.
But that situation it's a catch-22 because, again, like you said, it may not have been the first time that happened to him. I mean, he may not have had people in the past who ever interjected and helped. And so he may feel like, all right, I'm worthless. Like, nobody cares about me. Nobody wants to, protect me. I'm calling for help. I'm physically calling for help. And no one is doing anything. And that could be one of those things that breaks his spirit, man. You never know.
This might sound cruel. Oh, go ahead.
And just because something built your character doesn't mean it's going to do the same thing, for another person. Like, a lot of people that struggled coming up as far as, financial, and then they, they're in a better financial position. When they have children, they want to kind of emulate that financial struggle for their children. That doesn't build your character. Poverty doesn't build your character.
There was a flaw to his point of view, but he still made some compelling arguments. It's different with different kids. Some kids don't have a foundation, and maybe he was like that, and him getting beat up didn't make things.
Man, these kids going through some real shit. You talk to some kids. I went to a classroom and I told a kid that I was a social worker. He was going through some real shit. He was when we chopped it up.
Yeah.
It's that, and it's also natural selection. Sometimes you got. I know that's cruel.
That's cruel.
What?
But sometimes you got to go through some hardships in order to become tougher. But
Did
some
you
kids
quote racist ass Newton.
Only the strong survive.
Well, you can't apply that to some things though, especially in childhood. Yeah. I'm not saying that's the one route to go. I'm saying it might be the kid probably was going through some stuff. I think my friend should have said something, but he made points as to why he didn't.
Yeah, in his own way, he had his reasons, but I think that's a cop out though.
I would take a radical stance not to do it.
But sometimes a radical stance. I agree. Sometimes in some cases, a radical stance is to not do something. I agree. Think about it. And this is hypothetical, if you are around a group of friends who are racist and you decide not to participate in their racist behavior, you're taking a stance by not doing something, right?
if you're not saying anything, like you can be like, I'm not participating in this because this, that, and the third, then yeah, that's a radical stance. But if you just like, oh, I'm just gonna opt out of this without saying anything, that's not radical.
Yeah.
You're being the white moderate that MLK was talking about.
I mean, it's tough though. It's a situation where, and I can see where he's coming, because again, it does. Every kid, I'm sure, goes through bullying. They go through something, and some kids are able to use that to strengthen themselves and sort of build that backbone. But other kids get broken. You know, it just depends on that kid's sort of personality, what's going on in that kid's background. You know, if they always felt hopeless or they feel like there's no support. But I guess I can
he
sort
could
of
have changed that kid's life. I remember I had to have been about 10 years old. I was walking to the store with my friend, and I was looking down at the ground while I was talking to her. This man, I'd never seen him before in my life. Haven't seen him since. He said, "Young lady, put your chin up. Get your head off the ground. There's nothing down there." And he kept on walking.
Wow.
He didn't have to say anything to me. He could have thought to himself, like, why is she doing that? She looks weird.
Yeah.
Like she's having a conversation, but she's looking down at the ground. She's not looking at the person that she's conversing with.
That changed your life forever, huh?
Yes.
That brings me to a point. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I got one too. When I got off from high school and I was taking the bus, I was just on a mission to get home. I was tired, so I was waiting for the bus. You know, this homeless guy was around, just kind of talking to himself. He was like, "You go head on, young man. You get your education. You hear me?" And I didn't really pay him any attention. I just kind of nodded to him, said, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah, you go head on." And then, I don't know, that kind of stuck with me, too.
Because I don't want to be like him.
I mean, that was in junior year, though, so it was about the time for, like, college recruits and all that, so it did resonate with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I know, like, things, I don't know if y'all saw, like, the protests against gun violence in Chicago this past weekend where they shut down the interstate highway. Stuff like that. You know, those are things where, first off, it's for a message, it's for a reason, and it gets people to feel uncomfortable. Like shutting down a highway makes people uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. It stops them, prevents them from going where they need to go. It draws a scene, draws a crowd. Things like that are what we sort of need to continue to do, especially when we're dealing with issues of injustice, whatever that may be in any form. We got to make it uncomfortable for people to allow them to see, or at least hear us out in regards to some of these issues. You know, even like the Selma March, you know, marching over the bridge in Selma, Alabama, you know, shutting down the highways, things as such. It got the conversation going. I think nowadays we stand up very frequently for things that aren't, I'll put it this way. We're a little bit fractured in the way that we do things right now. I think that there's a protest over here for one thing, the same day there's a protest over here for another thing. You know, people are all just all over the place because they see so many injustices that they just want to get involved. But it's not done in a way that's actually structured and can really bring change. So I think we're doing a good job of sort of being aware of these issues, but we got to change the way that we do it. We got to change the approach. Sort of like your friend should have changed his approach to what he did. Yeah. No offense to Ryan, man. If you're listening,
He's
Ryan.
He's an interesting guy, man. I might have him on here.
Tell him to come. Oh, what's that? I think that was when you're going to invite.
Yeah, he was going to talk to us about the effect of net neutrality because he's a gamer. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, bring him in, man. We got to talk about that situation. Huh? Any other thoughts regarding today's topic?
I mean, you see stories like at my job, you know, one of my two jobs. You know, you got stories of people going in to talk to HR like, I've been working here such and such years. Can I get a little bit of a wage increase? I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. People standing up for themselves as far as like, you know, wage increases. You know, maybe there might be an unfair increase on your bill of some sort. You know, people stand up for each other every day in certain ways.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I just think that, yes, every day brings, you know, an opportunity for us to, you know, voice our concerns and stand up for ourselves, stand up for each other. And so take advantage of that. Even though if you feel like you may not have the power to do something or you may not be in a situation where you can actually make change, I think that one gesture of, you know, voicing your concerns, you know, really making yourself known and that issue known can make that change. Like you said, the guy who came and talked to you, told you to put your head up. That made a change in your life, and you forever remember that. And I think we don't think our actions will have a lasting effect, but they may.
I feel like it even comes down to the basic thing ever that everybody does, which is driving. You know, in Michigan, you're taught to be an aggressive driver. Drive aggressive. You know, and you usually don't have many people that when you got to get out of a driveway and it's congested traffic and you got to get in, you don't have many people that let you in. You know, I let people in. You know what I mean? I don't do it a lot to where I'm backing up the people behind me, but I let people in. And I feel like that, you know, that comes back to me when I'm in that situation.
Well, you better than
It
me.
definitely does. When you allow people to get in, you definitely get that karma.
You better than me because I'm like, nope. I'm sorry.
I don't let people in when you know the lane is about to merge.
Right.
You knew the lane was about to merge 2 miles ago.
Right. And you trying to pull it. Yeah, but any final thoughts? Final thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you got something you believe in, stand up for it. I know there may be times where you're scared, but, you know, reflect, you know, move on past that and know that next time you have to stand up.
What about you, Shayna?
Stand up for something. Be focused.
Yeah.
Remain focused on what it is that you believe in. Don't be scattered.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time or energy to be all over the place.
I just want to say, all of our followers and listeners, each day do one thing. You know, just make that one change. Stand up for yourself in some way, and you're gonna see it's gonna come back to you with the positive karma. So thank you all. It's been a great talk today. We will see you all soon. This has been another episode of Can We Talk?
So did you end up getting usurped as the leader, as the bully leader? Did someone